That's okay.
I'm great.
I'll get started proper. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Rich. I am T. This is my buddy and co-host and forever friend, Rich Lyons, and we are privileged to have a guest on today. We've been talking with Mallory Rosen for months about this, and we both have kind of interesting histories with Mallory, Rich, right? Like mine goes all the way back to like Brad Borman at MRM days, and I forget what the agency used to be called before.
Aptaros.
Uptaros,
It
that's
was like
right.
right after the Aptaros acquisition.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
And
even know that.
well,
Well, and I got
Brad
there
was like,
through
you got to meet
Joe
this kid.
Jabrowski.
Yeah, Brad was like, you got to meet TJ. Like, you got to like find your way to meet TJ. And I remember you telling me that story. So, welcome to the show, Mal. Rich, you don't need to be nervous being on with no glasses for the first time. The real story that we'll tell is that Rich actually has some studio lights behind his monitor, and he doesn't like the shadows that it casts on his eyes. So,
Yeah,
oh
look, it
my
made me look
god.
like like you can't see those shadows in my glass. And look, and then you can see the light in my glasses. See that?
I
We
feel
only
like the glasses are like a
we
really Irish look right now. Like if
we
you weren't
And
in
I
Chicago.
look like Kiss. Like I have like lines right here, like
you
shadow line. Like I look like what's his name?
Gene Simmons.
Keith Simmons. Yeah, I
Gene.
totally look like that.
Gene.
So
Yeah.
I'm going glassesless.
All right. I like it. I like it.
I want to look
So
pretty because Mallory looks way prettier than either of us. So.
I just like threw a
Oh,
shirt on. I think I did yesterday afternoon in my underwear, and I don't even remember what shirt I was wearing. So I just try and pull a nice shirt out. I got a tan. It's like summery-ish, and I'm just trying. I have this is bedhead too, by the way. I don't even think I've run a brush through this thing yet, but. Mallory, thanks for getting us on early. For those that don't know, it's like 9 o'clock here, 8 o'clock Chicago time for Rich, but it's very very early. We usually do these in the afternoon. So,
I
um,
got a 6-month-old and a 4-year-old, so it's like afternoon for me.
has it
Oh
been?
yeah, you're awake.
So it's been 6 months already, huh?
He turned 6 months old on Wednesday.
Wow, and a 4-year-old. So how's that
Well, he'll
been?
be 4 on July 14th.
We don't have we're
We're
purity
not
over
counting
perfection.
days. Yeah.
Well, that was what I was trying to think of when we were on with Rob Garf. Like it was no, I already forgot. Purity over perfection. I forget. I had like a line
Oh,
I used to use, but
I got it.
Rich, I don't have to ask you any questions about what's up because I've literally talked to you every day this week. So, but you're going to London tonight, though, right?
Tonight, yeah, I'm panicked. I don't have one piece of clothing in a suitcase yet, and I'm totally in panic mode.
Shannon would literally strangle me if we were getting on a flight tonight and my bag wasn't packed before I went to bed last
Not
night.
one piece in
Yeah.
a piece of luggage. I laid some stuff out though. I did laundry last night. I was up till I think I went to bed at 2:30.
In
Wow.
the morning?
Oh yeah.
Why were you up so? Wait,
I
do you
got
stay up
stuff.
that
I got
late?
stuff. I got stuff.
I actually finished a book I was reading last night. I like to read. I don't know if you know that about me. I like to read. I love words. I try to do the New York Times crossword puzzle every day. I have the app on my phone. And when I was growing up, like we're wordy family, like we always played Scrabble and Boggle. And so in the morning, whoever got up first in my house, I'm from Chicago, we got the Chicago Tribune, and whoever woke up first would start the crossword puzzle and just leave it on the kitchen table. And by the time we got to dinner, like at the end of the night, like throughout the day, everyone going through the house, it would be filled in.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so I love words and reading and stuff. And I
So
talk a lot, so it makes sense that I like
yeah,
words.
yeah, yeah. That's okay, but you're very efficient with your word usage. It's funny you talk about the love of reading. I read a book when my boys were born 20 years ago called Cryptonomicon. It's 1,000 pages, 996 pages, something like that. And I'm reading it again. And I'm a big First Light person, so I literally got up this morning, made Shannon breakfast, brought her to work. I bring her to work and I drop her off. Mal, I don't know if you knew that, but just for everyone listening, Mallory and Shannon are friends. And after everyone gets settled in and I made the boys breakfast, I have all the boys here for like 10 days. So it's been absolutely
Amazing.
spectacular. And then I go sit out back on the deck with my book and I read 20 minutes because the sun literally shoots right across here. I do 20 minutes basically facing the sun and then I lay down for 20 minutes. So I try and do 30 or 40 minutes at first light every day.
It's
Um,
awesome.
Yeah, and this book has been a chore. My son Dylan has read it. I bought it for Dylan, and he's read it like 5 times. And I've been trying to get through this thing for 6 months, but now I'm on a tear. Now I'm reading, half hour, 45 minutes a day. So
We already jumped into my questions because there was a book question on my questions list.
don't worry, that's not my favorite book in the world. Actually, the story behind Cryptonomicon's interesting. So if you do have a neat book question, but Mal, what are you up to? You mentioned this is the first time you've put yourself together in a while. So last time you and I did a video thing, we actually did a interview together for Vertex. I think it was. No,
Yeah,
it wasn't for
we did
Vertex.
an OMS webinar,
That's right.
Pixel and Vertex,
Yep.
OMS.
Yep. During COVID.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And
During COVID, nice.
yeah, I was in this room. Let's see. COVID was pretty crazy. I had a baby July 14th, 2020 in Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City. So that was a really interesting experience.
Wait a minute. Both of your kids have this. Oh no,
No, that's the older
fourth
one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
We bought a house, we moved here, I started a new job. I had, I think a lot of people know, and I'm a really big advocate of invisible disease, mental health, and chronic illness. I
Yep.
have dealt with chronic illness since I was 12 years old. And I think, TJ, you have always really inspired me through the writing that you do and you and I had a conversation about this at like the Celtics game, I think a few years ago, that there's a sense of like accountability where if you put it out there or you write, you know, you kind of garner a support system, but you also hold yourself accountable to report back to that support system. And Rich knows me well. He and his wife, Dr. Gertrude Lyons, had me for dinner a few weeks ago, which was fantastic. And
Very
I
fun.
cried at the dinner table, but we all know Rich is a crier, so I felt really
We cry a lot at the dinner table. You don't have to worry.
So yeah, I mean, what can I say? Victoria Eisenberg has been a mentor of mine and friend of mine for years. So I'm a little nervous going after her. I texted her. I was like, oh my God, I just saw your episode. Like, I'm next. Like, Vicky is, one of my mentors professionally, personally, as a mom, as someone who thrives in chaos. That's something she and I always align on. And, I'll kind of bring it to the professional side. For those who don't know me, I've really made my mark in partnerships. And so I'm kind of bouncing all over, but I'm pulling a TJ here. So
Okay.
I think maybe I'll just step back.
What? Pulling a TJ?
Yeah, I'm like bouncing around.
I didn't know I bounced around. I thought there was a method to my madness, but
A method is the madness. But like I'll tie it all together in the end.
okay.
Right? I think I'll try. But I have been in the Salesforce ecosystem for my entire career. I've touched other ecosystems, but I have what I think is an interesting and unique lens because I've actually been on the client side, the GSI consulting partner side, the kind of growth consulting partner side, and the ISV side. I started my career, I grew up in Chicago. I went to school on the East Coast. No offense, Rich, but I was the youngest of 3, and I was like, I am not driving through hours of cornfields to get to college. I'm taking an airplane. And then the East Coast, I went to University of Maryland, and I was like, hold on, I could just take the train or jump in the car, and I'm in another city in a few hours. This is fantastic. So, I got some business degrees and decided I was going to work in fashion, and my father was just so happy to hear that. My parents, I said I can't get a job in fashion without a New York address on my resume. And they said, we will help you sublet an apartment you have until Labor Day. And I wound up with a job at Saks Fifth Avenue working on their website. For those commerce OGs, I was working in hard-coded folders in Blue Martini. Only one person could be in a hotfix folder at a time. And the technology always spoke to me. And I was at Saks when Saks Off Fifth was launched on Demandware. I helped QA that website. And
wow.
I've
OG.
I've always been like an overachiever. And I think, I bring it back, like I've have dealt with invisible disease, chronic illness, my whole life. And it was kind of instilled in me like self-advocacy. My mom is an RN, so I know TJ, your wife Shannon is a nurse. Like we've talked about that a lot. And It's kind of like, this is something that's going to be a part of you for the rest of your life. You always need a good job and good health insurance. And I think that was like a valuable lesson. It really drove me to focus on my career. And like, um, that being said, I was always an overachiever and work was always my outlet because I kind of thought like if I succeed with work and have a paycheck and an income and good health insurance, like the rest will come. And like through that journey, I learned so much about myself. I worked with corporate strategy at Saks. They were the first department store to go omni-channel. It's like well before OMS came out. And that meant that we shipped inventory from the store floor without hitting the warehouse. So that was when you had like a staging, a QA, a production, all these environments, and like, before Page Manager, and your SKUs would fall off if the inventory thresholds weren't hit from the distribution center. So I helped train the buyers on like what is the internet. That they'd call. It would be like the Gucci buyer, like, how come, what is a roll up? Why can't I have a model in a red shirt and a blue shirt? Why do they have to be one SKU rolled up, a parent and a child? So I digress. From there, I went on to a plus size fashion company that was doing a multi-storefront e-commerce Salesforce Commerce Cloud rollout. Was from an in-house to kind of the idea of like the Banana Republic, 4 storefronts. I managed their first site that went, Salsify was our PIM. We used branding brands because we weren't, what's it called when you go responsive? It wasn't responsive.
Oh, right.
From there, I wanted to be a bigger fish in a smaller sea, and I went on to La Sportsac, like the nylon bag company. And that was when I first worked with an agency. We worked with One Rockwell, and we did a Shopify Plus implementation. That's where I met Martin Body. I would say Martin is the first person in, partnerships alliances where I saw what partnerships was. And again, I was on the client side. I owned my P&L. I owned our stack. And although I was a really operational person, I was like, holy shit, like I can make dinner reservations with a brick wall. There's like an entire career path beyond my computer monitors for me. So in that journey, I had my like failed startup, you have to do that. So I consulted for La Sportsac, went and worked for an old wholesaler in the fashion industry who had some big names, some big celebrity names wanted to spin up direct to consumer on Shopify. And actually I brought in the team who was called Cogent at the time, Joe Tatarski, Olivia Yuan,
Oh, geez.
and Marco Bond. And we were their first client when they changed to a services model to become what was known as Tomorrow.
Really?
Yes.
No, I did not know. I mean, I didn't know a lot of this about you. I'm
I
learning
didn't
a
know
lot this morning.
I didn't know any of this about you.
Yeah,
didn't
I
click
should
the
say
down
that.
arrow on
I didn't
your
know
LinkedIn
any of it.
profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, so surprise. So that
I
was
started like Vertex, I think, is where I start.
Yeah, so at that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to make a career change. I love relationships, and I think that good people do good business. And I realized that there was this whole ecosystem and there were partnerships. And like, I just thought Martin Body was like the coolest person ever. I mean, who doesn't? And so Joe Tatarsi became Dr. Tatarsi, as Brad Borman calls him, became kind of like, we became really good friends. We would go out to lunch or breakfast, and I would say, all right, I'm going to do a career change. I'm going into partnerships. So I interviewed with JD and Laz at Yapo. And I interviewed on the ISV and the consulting partner side. And what I narrowed it down to was, especially having been on the client side, I love the strategy of the consulting partner side. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So one morning I get a text from Joe and he says, hey, I've got this friend, his name's Brad Borman, and he's looking for a partnerships person at an agency. I think it's what you want. The next thing I know, Brad hired me. MRM had just acquired Optaros. Brad and Janine and Oliver Pepin, as we call him, the gang, they brought me in, and I think kind of the rest is history. I mean, that's when I met Vicky. That's when I met TJ. And that's when I met Jen Kajak, who became a dear friend and mentor. And she was
I love Jen.
Yeah, she was the first woman in the ecosystem who said to me, your comp plan is effed up and we're going to fix that. And she sat down with me and she taught me how to ask for my own money, how to structure a comp plan. Um, and it was fantastic. And kind of the rest is history. I mean, Rich, you could tell the story, but she brought me to Rich, which brought me where I am today. And throughout those years, TJ, you and I have harvested a relationship and friendship.
Yeah,
And I enjoyed that.
it's been amazing. I was actually quietly bummed that you went back over to the SI side when I was at Pixel and Rafter because we used to have such open and freestyle dialogues about life in general. But it didn't stop how I interacted with you or what we talked about. But I was like, damn, like. But I had Paul Daly, and I love Paul Daly to death. Like Paul is like the male version of a partnership unicorn that I kind of think of you as. And Paul is literally one of my favorite humans in the world. And a funny story about Paul is that we tried to hire him a long time ago and it just wasn't the right fit at the right time. And then Kevin Brown, who ran sales, he's like, I got
Oh,
this
look at
guy.
the pixel mug. Did you see the? Oh, wow.
I mean,
Mhm.
She came ready. She came ready.
Oh, I came prepared.
Well, I don't think she was ever given a Lions mug. She'd probably have that with her coffee.
True.
But anyways, the Paul Daly stories. But it was funny because they brought him back in like a year later to interview with me. They were like, we're going to hire him, and I was like, that dude has never done any of this before.
Oh,
And Kevin
amazing.
was like, well, will you talk to him? So I had Paul come in. Have I told you this story, Mallory?
No, but I'm really close with Paul.
You have to
Who are
ask Paul the
you?
story. So I had Paul come in. I'm like, well, if you want to, I go, I don't think he's a fit for the job. I just don't see him doing it. He was like a brand side guy, blah, blah, blah. Worked at, I think it was Puma at the
Yeah.
time or Adidas. And so he comes in and we sit in this big conference room, just me and him. And I literally sit him down. I go, well, I want to talk to him then. And I get him in. I have him in for like an hour and a half. And he's on the other side. He's got his resume and everything. And he's like, yeah, Kevin says you want to talk to me. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. Like, I fucking love you to death. You're like a really good dude. I've always loved talking with you, but I don't see you doing this role. And he spent 45 minutes in the most respectful, educational way I have ever had anybody interview with me. And he walked up one side of me and down the other. And by the end of the dialogue, I fucking was like, I literally told him, I'm like, I love you right now. And like, you're in. Like, you're in. And we ended up just shooting the shit for another 45 minutes. You should ask him for his version of the story because I was ruthless to him when I was like, Paul, I just don't see you doing it. But for anybody listening to this story, Paul Daly is a very close friend of mine, and I love him to death. And he's the best partnership person in my direct report structure that I've ever actually associated with. So, and I love that you guys are friends. That we connected you guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
brings it back too, right? Like, you know, you said like I went from the ISV side. I was at Vertex for a few years. It was amazing because at Vertex I also I was engaged in Salesforce had RFP'd for a tax provider, and I was engaged in that, which was just an incredible experience to sell with the global sales team at Vertex to Salesforce while managing the partner in an RFP cycle. And also really expanded to multi-cloud. So I was there. We launched a few, connectors, former link cartridges, right? Connectors on App Exchange. And I love to learn and I grew a lot there. But also I think that I always joke, like Mean Girls, like my hair is so big because it's full of secrets. Like I love partnerships because good people do good business, and I pride myself on being loyal and trustworthy. And like just like you said, we've always had open dialogues, and I think you may not be the only person who was like, "Oh man, like she just went back to the consulting partner side." Like I've been working with her on the ISV side, but what from working with me is that I'm thoughtful, I'm trustworthy, I'm true to my word. And like that's how you drive partnerships. Like you build relationships and the business follows.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I appreciated the most about you is so to be in our liaison was that, and a lot of people don't understand this, that Rich and I talk about this a lot, when you engage with ISVs, there's a lot of trust that you have to put into them. And the challenge with that level of trust is it's not always reciprocated. And when things go sideways, that's when you find out who is really a good partner and who isn't. And I think my probably favorite part about you was that you were an escalation point. Like, I didn't call on you often, but you knew if I called you, like, shit was sideways. And you always had the respect and the network and rapport and credibility to go, like, unfuck whatever was going on, like, really fast,
I
right?
appreciate that.
And that's just not out there a lot. I'm looking forward to getting Laz on here one day, and Portnoy and things like that. They've also just been sort of pinnacles of the partner ecosystem. But a good partnership is making more deposits than withdrawals, and when a withdrawal gets called up, understanding that, like, that's kind of a critical thing. Like, we don't always do it, but when we do it, it's really important that we don't get kind of jerked around as SIs and as entrepreneurs. And Rich and I, we talked about the Link program. I mean, Rich made his name doing cartridges, and
Yeah, we did.
so did we, right? We still we're I think we're the
You
only.
built a lot.
Yeah, we built a lot, but you learn a lot about the ISV market, and it'd be neat to have Navar on here when we were doing the ISV pabs and stuff. But no, I've always loved that. Now, Mal, what do you? So I know you're a mom. You have two young kids. You're a professional. You've moved around. I didn't know you were on the brand side. I actually didn't know anything before MRM or the Optaros thing, but when you're not working and you're not doing crossword puzzles and you're not taking care of the kids, which I know is a full-time job, like, how do you spend your downtime? Like, how do you recharge and distance yourself from sort of the melee? Because it's very stressful what we do is on the professional side.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I am it's hard because I mentioned, but a big part of me is managing my physical health and my mental health,
Hmm.
which has ebbed and flowed. So, I've had now I've had uh two C-sections and 3 orthopedic surgeries in the last 4 years.
Wow.
And I had like 5 orthopedic surgeries before I was 21 years old. But I've always had, the best doctors, the best care, and I've had accessibility, and it's stuff that I have never taken for granted. So I think that people who know me know that I really thrive connecting with people and socially. And so I really try to spend time with my friends, my husband. My husband Adam is just, I could cry. He's the better part of me. He makes me a better person. I always say, like, I schedule and plan things for work. Like, I am a hot mess at home. Like, and my husband, he's the head of procurement, the global head of procurement for Steinway and Sons pianos. So, like, he is the purchaser. Like, our honeymoon, like, kind of like you, TJ, like, our honeymoon, like, was planned, color coded, like, he did it all. Like, that's him. And it's funny because I got my Mother's Day card from my son, and it says mom's job is calendar, which is really funny because, like, I'm always trying to mess with the calendar, but, like, I suck at it. Like, Adam keeps this house going. I can do it professionally, but not personally. So I love spending time with my husband. Our backyard is our oasis. We call it Zamunda. If you've seen the film Coming to America, the country is Zamunda. So we call our backyard Zamunda. We have a beautiful hot tub, and that's our time. Like, after the kids go down, we like to chill in the hot tub and watch the sunset. And it's really important to us. When we were dating, we used to try to have, like, no phone at the dinner table Wednesday nights. So
That's
Adam,
cool.
it's what I do, and my friends, my social life is really important to me. But also, I do end up at a lot of doctor's appointments. I am a big advocate of therapy as well. It's something that, I need to help regulate. And I have found that when I'm open and honest about that and advocate for myself, the return, and I think TJ, like, you share this a lot about your childhood or your past. Like, when you share those stories, you have people who come to you with amazing stories. And that's a balance too, right? Because, like, you don't want people to feel bad for you. And also, like, I have a family, right? Like, I don't want my kids' friends or, like, my kids' friends' parents to be like, oh, that poor family, like, that poor mom, like, she's on crutches, or, like, they had surgery again. And, like, my husband, who's, like, amazing and does so much, it's like, we have a great social life, and like, we're doing like a dinner this weekend with 10 he threw me a birthday party the other weekend. We're going out with 10 couples, and it's like got to roll in with me on crutches again. Like, so it's a balance. Like, I spend my time trying to be thoughtful with my time, with my energy. Um,
Love
I was a dancer. I was a ballerina, and
that.
I love that.
I kind of my happiest place is in a ballet studio. And after every physical challenge I have had, I have made it back into a studio. And I actually recently had a small knee surgery between Road Tour in April and Connections in May. And right before my surgery, I was in an adult ballet class here in New Jersey. So I will go back when I'm feeling better. But I think, does that answer it? I'm a little scattered because I have a
No,
lot going.
I think you're very brave, and and I love your focus on relationships. I mean, you're a pleasure to be around. I mean, I love being with you, and I know it's not always easy for any of us, but but I think you share vulnerably about what's going on with you, and I appreciate that. But when I'm with you, I feel great. And I want you to know that, because I think, I know it takes a lot, and sometimes we all have our moments, right? But I always feel good being around you, and I want you to know that.
I
And
appreciate
I love you because I hug you coming in, I hug you going out. You're the person that's like, I gotta go say bye to people, and it takes you 45 minutes to get out. So I usually get three.
it.
Like,
I'm doing Irish exit. You always make fun of me.
I do. I'm like, you still here? You're like, yeah. I'm like, you said you were leaving an hour ago. I'm like, well, give me another hug. But do you remember when Shannon and I came down when you rented out the arcade for the networking thing, and it was just basically Lee Mish's team and Shannon and I?
It was, and like I was just coming back from a huge shoulder surgery,
I remember.
and I was so self-conscious, and I really just was putting so much into it, and I was like, no one's coming, like no one's coming. Like, you guys came, and you knew how upset I was and how self-conscious I was,
We
and,
did.
and you were like, this is great, Mal. Like,
Hmm.
this is great. And I think it goes kind of to my questions later. Like, I have some questions for you, but um
Wasn't that your first meeting of Shannon too? Was
that
that
was the
the
first
first?
time I met Shannon.
It
Yeah.
was. Because I
And
met Adam at a dinner actually a
yep,
little
and you
while
met
after
Adam
that.
at dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's it was kind of something where you really validated that I had a leader who said to me, like, did you try your best? Like, did you give it your all? And I said, yeah. He said, then you did not fail. Like, you succeeded because you gave it your all.
It's a
And that
great
was kind of like
message.
how I felt about that night.
It's not your responsibility to be responsible for other people's responsibilities,
Right.
right? And the fact that Lee showed up, Lee and I are buddies. He left. He's at Oracle now running, and he
Yeah.
brought his team with him, which is funny. And Lee lives in Guilford. Lee lives like right behind a concert place. And if it wasn't for that night, I wouldn't have befriended Lee. We went and sponsored his veterans support golf tournament last year. I can't go this year because it's my anniversary, but no, that was worth every penny. And you got to meet the Queen, which
Yeah, and
you guys hit
Lee's
it
a
off.
really big advocate of mental health and mental health awareness too, which is something that is dear to my heart.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And she been through a lot of shit as a kid and a young adult. So well, I appreciate that background, and I appreciate your answer on the question about like how do you spend your downtime, because Rich and I don't know how many episodes you've listened to. It might not be live yet actually, but Rich and I always talk about self-care and self-awareness and like the importance of like directing our energy at ourselves, because if you people think this is weird, people think you got to put your kids first or this first or that first or your career, but I like that you put you first, and I love that hearing the story that you are professionally you're a savage, but then you come home and it's like a fucking, it's like a yard sale of like of it
I'm only
unquote.
allowed to be messy in my closet. Like, we used to have a rule, okay, when we lived in the city, like my husband is like the cleanest, tidiest person. And I'm not dirty, but like I can be like messy.
Messy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so like when we lived in the city, like when we first moved in together before we got engaged, right? I had this bench, right? And I'd try on like 17 outfits before I went to work, and you take it off because you don't like how it looks, and I throw it on the bench. And I'd come home and he would have like cleaned the bench off. And I'm like, that is my mess. Like, I know exactly when I decided that I felt fat on Tuesday morning, but on Wednesday morning I have the confidence to wear that. I know that that's like the third dress under the pile of dresses that I took off the morning before. Like, what did you do with that? It's like, how do you live in that? So then we came up with a rule, and the rule was Mallory gets 24 hours to clean up her piles of clothing and accessories before Adam is allowed to give a nudge or clean them up himself. And so now, like, we're one of the things, like, but when we started dating was like, you have to watch all 10 seasons of Friends if you're gonna be my partner in life. So that was like what we did. Like, we started when we first dated. We watched all 10 seasons. So like, if you know, like, Monica Geller, Monica has like, she's a clean freak, right? But she has her closet. And so my closet is a mess. Like, it's clean, but like, it's a mess, and that's my spot. And so it's funny because Adam will be like, I looked in your closet today and I'm having nightmares. And I'm like, well, that's the one place you're not allowed to touch. Sorry.
Shannon, so I'm a lot like you in the fact that like I have clothes everywhere in the bedroom, like my half all the way over to the other side of the bed, and like she's like, do you need me to do laundry? And I was like, no, that's only been worn once. Those pants don't fit me this week. Like,
I'm having anxiety. I'm having anxiety with this conversation.
Those
I know,
socks
Rich,
I
your
only
house is
No,
wore.
I'm
like,
totally having anxiety.
No,
Like,
Yeah.
I'm the
socks.
other
It's like,
side.
Rich
I'll
is
be
like shit in the
ba-
bed right now.
Dude,
I'm
like,
like,
I
baby,
keep
I
everything clean.
no, I'm like, baby, I only wore those socks for like 5 minutes the other day when I ran out to get the kids. They're not ready to be washed. And
Gertrude needs to be on this because she's the one that, I'm always like, you got to put that away. You got to put that away. Like, I get anxiety. Like, things have to be orderly.
No, but that's me in the bedroom, and then we had to take an entire bedroom and make it Shannon's closet, and it looks beautiful right now. But sometimes I'll go like when we're getting ready to go on like a trip, 2 days, like a 2 day trip. There's like 20 outfits, but I'll tell Shannon, she's like, "How do you live like that?" I'm like, "Babe, I've had this T-shirt for 17 years." Because of my system of my why when I wear it and how I wear it and what I do with it and not washing it after every wear. Like my kids think that I got a kid upstairs that like has like 5 outfits a day, and I'm like, what do you do? Well, he's like, well, the green shirt, I needed the different sneakers, and then you have to
I'm
change
like that.
pants, and I'm like, oh my god.
Like that. But Rich keeps it very.
I wash everything. I mean, I'm a washer, but I mean, not jeans. Like, you can't wash your jeans every time you wear them. But I mean, I wash a lot of stuff. But I'm very, let's just say, anal about my stuff, how things get folded, how it goes in my drawers. I mean, I'm crazy about it. And some things rotate. I think about t-shirts. Like, I have my favorite t-shirts. So when I wash them, I put them back on the top of the pile. But there's other things where it's got to go on the bottom of the pile, like underwear. Like, you can't just put the new underwear in front. Like, it has to go in the back because you don't want to wear the same underwear every single time. Like,
So funny story, Rich. Funny question. How many pairs of underwear and how many pairs of socks do you have?
oh my Lord. Well, I have different kinds of underwear, TJ. I have the everyday wear underwear, and there's
No. Just answer the question. Roughly, how many pairs of socks and how many pairs of underwear?
underwear 30.
Okay.
Socks. Oh my. I mean, because you have workout socks, you have wear socks, you have dress socks, like, and those are different drawers. I have 3 full drawers. One's like dress socks, one's fun socks, like stance socks. I have 100.
I thought I probably have 25 pairs of underwear. I thought that was a lot. And then I probably have about 40 pairs of socks, and now I feel okay.
Well, because I have workout underwear. Those are different underwear than the wear everyday underwear.
I'll literally refold stuff after Shannon will do the laundry and fold it and put it on we have a bureau in the master, and then I'm like that
I
hoodie.
knew I liked you for a reason. I
restack
refold
the
everything too.
dishwasher. I'm the dishwasher restacker.
So am I. Did you ever read my LinkedIn post on how to stack a dishwasher?
Yeah, that was funny.
Well,
I'm a washer. To me, the dishwasher is a sanitizer.
Well,
Like, you
same.
got to
And we
get
had
the
this
shit off the
conversation when I had
plate. You
dinner
can't
at your
just put them
house.
in dirty. That peeves me.
Well, also, like, with the baby, right? Like, Grayson, my youngest, is 6 months old now. So, I mean, there's so much I'm the ultimate consumer. Like, I buy everything from Instagram ads. Like, you want to test something, like, test it on me. Like, I'm the ultimate consumer. I'm not allowed to make facial expressions or speak in car dealerships or when we're looking at houses. That's like the rule. Like, like, thank God I have Adam, seriously. But like with the bottles, and Rich, you'd appreciate this. Like, you use the bottle brush and then you use like the special soap for the baby, and then you wash it, and then there's like the sanitizer that looks like a spaceship, which you don't really need after the baby's 3 months old, and like now they have one that washes it too, and so Adam and we have help, right? Like that's and that's something that's really important. Like both my husband and we both really value our careers, and we're both very successful, and we are a partnership, and neither one of us would be where we are in our career if we didn't have an equal partnership for it. And so like, you are both extremely hands-on fathers, and that is how my husband is. I mean, I think when Grayson was born, my husband actually took both kids to the pediatrician together before I ever even did. But so the nanny and Adam are like, do we still have to use the sanitizer? Like, it's already washed, it's already dried. So finally, he was traveling for work the other week. I'm like, all right, Grayson's 6 months old. So I took it off the counter and, I put it away. He came home and he's like, we can put the KitchenAid back there.
Yeah, my counters are literally empty. Like we only pull stuff out when it gets used. Shannon, we have these big white marble countertops, and like
Yeah.
her favorite thing is to come home and see nothing.
And, like the toaster oven stays away.
Yeah.
But you have young kids. That's a
Air
different
fryer
game.
right. Like
Yeah.
I never hid anything from my kids. I was like, if you want to burn yourself or burn a piece of toast, like do it. Like,
no, it's not for hiding. It's for like
aesthetics. You need a garage. Yeah, an appliance garage.
Rich has been here. My kitchen isn't my house. My kitchen, living room, dining room is one huge room, and it's not really designed to like have appliances and shit all over the place.
Right.
Every 3 weeks, she'll give me about 3 weeks, and then there'll be a nice little stack here on my desk of the stuff that's been up by the fridge for too long, mail I didn't read, and all of that.
So you passed the like 24-hour mark. It's like this 24.
You keep it clean
then
though. I mean, your kitchen's clean. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is, but like I wear a lot of jewelry. I have a bunch of watches. It's you need a drop spot, right? So, but that's funny. So cleanliness and restacking dishwashers and refolding laundry are realities. So that's why we get along. We're kindred spirits.
Exactly. We have a cleaning lady, and then I have to refold it after.
We have some folks that come every couple of weeks, but that's like to do the floors and dust and clean the bathrooms. Like I refuse to clean the bathrooms, but no laundry, nothing. Like I'll make sure there's like minimal dishes. Like if there's a bunch of wine glasses, I'll leave them because I don't like doing wine glasses. But we'll clean the house before the cleaners come because when they're here, I want them lazy.
You have to clean like I never understood that as a kid. Like when my mom would say, it's very fortunate. Like I grew up in a very comfortable home, and I never take that for granted. And you always had to clean for the cleaning lady, and I didn't get
pick up.
Now I get it. Yeah. I'm like, Carla's coming. Like Carla's coming today. I'm like, we gotta clean for Carla.
Yeah, you can't leave all the clothes on the bench.
No,
exactly.
I do want to circle back at the end. I think we have to come back to partnerships and the importance of alliances and partnerships.
Let's talk a little bit more about partner. Or what do you want to do?
I just think a lot. I mean, TJ, obviously you agree with this, and of course you do, Mallory. But I was always shocked that not everyone values that, right? Partnerships, relationships, I guess, is the broader category. But there, when we, like having Jen Kajak and even having her report directly to me, like the importance of having that and just how much gets done. But you can't always put a KPI on it, like measure it. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to measure it, like how many leads did you generate or this or that. And I'm like, it's not that, right? But I just never think everyone understood that, right? Like how important it is. Like Mallory, I mean, you didn't work for me, but we worked together, right?
That's
and
in my mind.
But you were the only one that got anything done. And that's what people don't understand, right? Like how much gets done within the relationship and how important it is from that perspective. And I'm just shocked. So I just wanted to double click on it because it's what you do. But I just think a lot of people don't understand the importance. I think it's awesome.
I really appreciate that, and I've learned from the best, right? Like everyone knows, like you're out at a show, like you looking for Brad, like ask Mallory. Looking for Mallory, like ask Brad. Like Brad, he hired me when I was making a career change, and I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, like how do you hire people? How do you know? And like my first conversation with him is going back when Joe told me to talk to him. I didn't even know it was an interview. I got on the phone with him, and I was just like, "Hey, it's nice to meet you. Look, like." I want to make a career change, but I'm also thinking about having kids in a year. So I'm trying to find a job where I put my blood, sweat, and tears in, and then I kind of and then I want to have a baby. Just like you don't go to an interview and say that, right? And then the phone call ends. And like I thought this was just me meeting him. The phone call ends. He's like, "Great, I'm gonna connect you to HR." And I was like, "Well, what about an interview?" And he's like, "Well, this was an interview." So that was my first kind of experience when I really hit the next level of my career of like you go from being kind of green, post education. I don't want to be ageist because I think that you can do that at any point in life. To this fear of an interview and the person behind the desk. And it's like, hey, we're all people. The person behind you may hate interviews more than you do and be more nervous to talk to you than you are to talk to them. And that was the first time I had that experience. But I also think that what happened was like I advocated for myself. And if you fast forward, I mean, the role that I'm in now, Rich placed me there through Jen. And I had been dealing with some health problems. I had been struggling mentally. I wanted to have another kid and was scared that the upheaval of a job change was going to be too much on my family. Um, And so I was like, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to advocate for myself. And I was on the phone with the CEO of the company and I said, I'm trying to have another kid. And if you're looking for someone to put blood, sweat, and tears in, and it's going to be irritating or annoying if you find out that I'm pregnant in a few months, then I'm not your girl. But if you're looking for someone who does good business and builds foundational relationships and really makes it happen, then I'm the girl and I want the job. And he looked at me and he said, hey, like I have 4 kids. I get it. And your hiring manager's about to go on maternity leave. I think you're going to really love the team here. And that's been incredible. So I think that's like that's kind of I strayed, but I think that's just an important point about like self-advocacy,
Well, and
balance.
you telling the truth and not hiding that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
you though. That's you,
And
right? That's relationship and that's the importance.
but I think that like so what do I bring to the table as a professional with a career in partnerships? I always say the best ships are partnerships. Everyone knows I say that. I look at partnerships as a three-legged stool. Okay. So you've 3 legs of the stool. The first is going to be your business development. Everyone knows that, right? Like everyone's like, hey, partner person, like, where's my pipeline? Where's my lead? Like, hey, give me a lead here, give me a lead there. And then there's like, oh, you get your referral commission. Like, oh, great. Now accounting has to figure out how to invoice the partner to get the money. But there's your actual demand generating, like dollar bill partnerships. The next is partner marketing, right? Like that's the biggest thing. How do you brand yourself as an organization? And what are the other partners and players in the ecosystem that complement you, that don't complement you, that compete, that align, that you need to watch out for? I think that's really important. So your partner marketing, I think that I
I
would
think it's
argue.
huge. I think it's huge, that ecosystem, that co-opetition, working with people that are competitors. I mean, TJ and I, we've talked about it a lot. Like people were always surprised, like are you and TJ friends?
Yeah.
How are we
And
not friends? I mean,
I
we're
would say like you need to have partner focus. If you have budget for one marketing person, I would hire someone as a partner marketer before just a marketer. And the third leg of the stool, and if you've ever seen my like partnership plans, you've seen a slide with a stool on it. But the third leg is enablement. And I think that's the secret sauce. So there was an incredible woman that I worked with at La Sportsac before I switched to Alliances, and she had an adorable son. And they didn't understand what they said. What are partnerships? What's this new job that you're gonna do? So I broke it down, and I think that this is something that explains it, right? I said, okay, let's say you are a company that makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There's a bunch of different companies and restaurants that make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But you want to be the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich maker, right? Or almond butter, like let's 2024, we have to be very allergy safe here. Not almond, not apple, I don't know. They make all that shit today. So what's the role of partnerships? The role of partnerships is to make sure you have the relationships with the bread company, the peanut butter company, and the jelly company, so that you're at the forefront of knowing what the new peanut butters, breads, and jellies are coming out, who are the competition that are doing it and making the sandwiches, when is there a problem with the peanut butter or the bread or the jelly, and are you following the right processes for making the sandwich, right? Like everyone remembers back in science in 6th grade when they're like, write down the instructions to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, I feel like everyone has that flashback to elementary school, or just me, maybe, I don't know. And so I think that like that's what partnerships is, right? And that's the crux of a business model. And when you have a strong partner person, by default, like on a ladder, I may roll up to the VP of partnerships, to the head of commercial, to this and that, to the CEO. Like at the end of the day, the CEO answers to the board, and the board wants to know what's going on with that partnership. And you need to be able to speak to the CEO about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you need to be able to speak to the business analyst who's in the weeds when you're unfucking the situation. So,
Great
that's,
explanation. I love it.
yeah, it's all about how, and then how are the sandwiches changing, right? Look what we've seen with the ecosystem. Are peanut butter and jelly sandwiches still hot? I don't know. Uncrustables are coming in. Everyone's selling Data Cloud. So I think it's
Processed food is not good for you, though.
Yeah. Well,
Wonder Bread? Wonder Bread's not good for me? I thought Wonder Bread was the best.
The bread was the best. I like that explanation. I think.
Did that answer the question at all?
Yeah.
100%. I think when it comes to partnerships, and I think Portnoy tries to write about this a little bit, is that I think people misunderstand the importance of more than just your BD team doing BD work, and that it is a network of people, and that it can be a factor of 5 or 10 or 20x more exposure for you. And I don't know if you listened to the Catherine Murphy episode, but enablement is like the bane of my existence and always has been, right? And I've talked with you openly, Mallory, regardless of what was going on, about I don't really care if you have the best product. I don't care if it's the cheapest product. I care that if you can invest in us and get my team up to speed, and that you have the tools to allow that team to get proficient and smart quickly. And then when there's a problem, I need to be able to call you, and I need that problem fixed in hours, not days or weeks, right? And that, there's other folks that competed with Vertex that had some stumbles there, right? Everybody on top of the mountain tumbled down one side or the other at some point. And I think enablement, Rich, you and I talked about it with Kat, is just, it's that onboarding, we called it the unboxing experience, because there's an unboxing experience even in the partnership ecosystem. So,
well, and I think that it's not like you hit on something with enablement, right? But you keep coming back to the same thing, which is, when you mention kind of the partnerships leaders, right? Like Laz, Portnoy, JD, like Jen, it's communication, it's responsiveness. It's like, if I send an email or a text or make a phone call, like, confirm receipt. I got it. I'm working on it. I'm escalating this to my team. This is whose hands it's in. You know what? I'm following up. Like, communicate to your partner, to your client, to your leader. Communicate before someone asks. And I think that that's something that like partnerships people inherently do. I think it's part of our nature because we're so relationship and communication driven. And that goes to, but like TJ said, that's the bane of your existence. Well, I think if you ask any partnerships manager, the bane of our existence is managing certifications.
I don't believe in certifications, so we were a pain in the ass.
Well, that's great. I just wanted to touch that because I think some people don't value it, and they should. And and we won't drill into this until later, TJ. But I think coming back on the link, No one wanted to deal with the shit. No one wanted the small projects to build those cartridges and to build it. But you and to me, that was ecosystem. That was relationship. That was another way to get into an account to, and I think people are, oh, I don't want that 20 grand. I'm like, you're an idiot because
Yeah.
that 20 grand, I can get into an account. I can get into multiple accounts. I have someone giving me leads. I mean, and that's the relationship aspect that I think people, and we can double click on that later, but thanks,
I,
Mallory. That was great.
When you can rely on a partner to build a connector or a cartridge, that means that that partner has taken the time to understand both your product and the product you are connecting to. So to me, that's invaluable trust in the fact that they can solve any business's problem. So like you take that $20,000 project, you build it, you get someone through security review. If I'm the partnership person, I'm sitting in a pipeline meeting and someone's like, hey, we have this lead. I'm like, oh, well, you should absolutely ask, Lions. Like they built a cartridge, they get it, they can do it. And I think
100%.
that those deals, that's where partnerships also come into play.
well, I think to that point, Mal and Rich, it is that, Rich, we made our name on integrations and cartridges and managed services. And I think early on, you and I were playing a long game that no one else knew even existed, right? And it's making investments in things that don't always have an immediate return
Right.
outside of the personal and relationship equity that we got out of it, right? We had to trust that we were doing good things, both on the managed service side and on the link integration side, and just go find the right people and the good things, because we did some stuff that we didn't want to be the first phone call when that cartridge was done, right? Because sometimes the back end wasn't at the same parity that the front end energy was that went into it. So, but I always thought, Rich, you and I played a game that was so long people didn't even know we were playing one.
Yeah.
And I think we're still playing that game, quite
We're
honestly, for
still
anybody.
trying. Yeah, for sure. And I think
I
the
Yeah,
love it.
game was,
Oh, sorry.
serving people and doing what's right and doing the best thing versus what's right for
correct.
me. And then I think that's what all three of us are talking about.
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself. I'm not saying that, and sometimes probably all of us, you know, maybe aren't as good at that, but we're trying. But I do think we're outwardly focused. Like, how can I help someone? How can I help you? And if I can do something to help you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do
Yeah.
it.
100%.
I just have one other question.
Well, yeah. Why don't we move right into questions,
Yeah, I
Mallory?
have questions. Don't don't put this in the real thing.
Oh no.
Now
This
you're
is
gonna
good.
put it in. Now I
This
know you're gonna
is- now but
As
you
soon
were
as you
just
say
mumbling.
that, it's
No,
tagged and it's in.
There was something I did want to say though. It'll
I
come
only
to me.
usually edit out about a minute or two out of the whole recording. So
All right. So I have questions. I'm looking at my phone because I have questions. Okay. So this is one that I love. What uh what is a job that you have had that is not on your resume?
Oof.
I'll tell you mine. When I was in high school, I worked for a DJ company and like at all the bar and bat mitzvahs, like weddings and the events, like I was like the like the dance, got up
Nice.
floor and dance and lead the
for
dances.
real?
Yeah, I made a lot of money.
Let me
High
go
school.
see what I have listed. So a job I don't have listed.
Well, I'd have to go back. I mean, I
I,
deliver
I
I deliver beer. I deliver beer. I had my chauffeur's class 2 license, and I
Oh,
drove a semi, Anheuser-Busch distributor, and I delivered beer. So I was a helper. I mean, the backstory to that is it was a family business. My grandmother ran an Anheuser-Busch beer distributor, and then my mom ran it. So I was always worked there in the summer, clean toilets, clean the shitters for a while in the warehouse, stacked. We had, the 10-cent returnable beer bottles, right? So all those returnables came back to you and you had to restack them based on, Michelob, Michelob Light, Bud Light. You have to restack them. So you're pulling down these, you know what you do in beer bottles. You spit, you put cigarettes in there, they smell like shit. So I'm stacking these things. By the end of the day, I was a mess. And then when there was a Teamster strike, a bunch of my buddies and I from college, we drove trucks. It was insane. We broke picket lines, Teamster picket lines. We had an armed guard in the trucks with us. One of my buddies had someone put a shotgun through his window through the roof, but we made a ton of money, so. But that one's not on my resume. Beer driver, Anheuser-Busch. I had the nice shirt, said Rich there, it was awesome.
I have had so many jobs. I didn't start my I'm going to call it my LinkedIn resume started in I think it was 88. And it's kind of funny when you look at it, like my ascension to like hood rat, like manufacturing guy to like what I started doing for my eventual career was only a few years, but probably I've been a paper boy. I've been a dishwasher. I've been a bus boy. I was actually the only bus boy at the time to ever be tipped out by the wait staff because I don't know anything other than work. Like, I know that sounds weird, but like I'm a worker. Like even if I was to go work for somebody, if I was to work with you, Mallory, and you were my boss, my one mission is to make you happy and to do the things that need to be done. So I didn't know any better. I only knew how to work my ass off. So when I was a dishwasher, I was, it sounds weird, but no restaurant I ever washed dishes in ran low on anything, right? And that's like a real thing if you've been in food service. As a bus boy, I fucking turned tables faster than anyone. And I was maybe 120 pounds carrying like these giant, like pail, no food. I was so broke I couldn't even afford with the discount to get French fries for lunch. So I like didn't eat all day. And I sold unfinished furniture. I was a delivery man for a pizza company here in Dover. It used to be called New Hampshire House of Pizza.
My
And
husband was the pizza delivery guy in high school.
they let me drive their car because I didn't have my own car. And there's this one road in Dover that you kind of go down and it's a curve to the left that goes uphill. And we always tried to see just how fast we could go before the thing felt like it was going to roll over. I worked at a furniture store. A funny story. I worked at a furniture store selling unfinished furniture and then delivering that furniture once it got sold. And then a super baller businessman in the town I lived in came in and bought my dream. Like back in the day, you used to buy sectional furniture, like wood furniture, like entertainment centers. He
Yeah.
bought my dream entertainment center and he was talking to some guy and he's like, yeah, who's going to, do you guys stain them? Because they're unfinished. And they're like, no, we don't do the stain. You got to go find somebody to stain it. And Ray, the driver at the time, was like, well, ask TJ. He might do it on the side. And this dude asked me if I would stain the furniture. I quit my job. I went to him. He picked me up every day at my house in a station wagon, brought me to breakfast. For a week, 2 weeks, I stained furniture every day in his beach house. They'd bring me like a chopped ham sandwich and like warm water, and then he'd bring me home. And so I literally spent like 4 hours uninterrupted with this business owner every day for 2 weeks when I was 18. This dude, in hindsight, is Shannon's grandfather.
What?
No way. So when did you figure that out?
When I first met Shannon, and I actually met her dad when she was much younger. I met her dad's name is Pat Murray, and we were at everything leads back to charity events for me, and
Right.
I knew we called him Red. His name was Peter, but he had Red shoe store. But yeah, I quit my job. I literally spent 4 hours a day with him every day. His wife would make me like this like weird chopped ham sandwich on Wonder Bread and a glass of water for lunch, and it was awesome. And then at the end, I thought I was going to make all this money. He gave me like $80. But he bought me breakfast every day and he drove me to and from. That was probably one of the coolest like 2
That's a
weeks
cool
stints
job.
I ever had.
Well, like you were right, like you were safe, you had structure,
Yeah.
you could build a relationship, like
Yeah.
like those are foundations of
Correct.
the man
I
that you
could see you
are.
never a bartender. When I was in college, I was a bouncer, then a bartender. I could see you being a great bartender.
Well, you gotta remember when I was a kid, like again, I say hood rat, but like I got a license at 18, but I didn't get my first car till I was 21. I just didn't have any money. I walked to work. Like I had to move 10 miles north for a job I got at Cabletron. And I walked every day. I walked 2.5 miles every day to work for years. And my first car, I might have been 22 when I got my first
Hmm.
car. It was like a shitty Oldsmobile with a tape player, a cassette player, and so those impressionable years when you do a lot of that stuff, like if I couldn't walk there, I couldn't do it. I used to
Right.
thumb 15 miles to work at a car wash. I actually ran a car wash for a year or two. I worked at one in Dover and one in Rochester, and to go to Rochester, so he'd be like, "Dude, you're like an hour late every day. What the fuck?" I was like, "It's a long walk, dude. People don't pick me up all the time." He's like,
Amazing.
"What?" And it's 15 miles, and he's like, "You walk?" I go, "Well, I walked about 3/4 of the way today." And he's like, "You've got to be shitting me." I go, "No, dude. Like I had to go to work. That's what I did." He's like, "How do you get home?" I go, "I fucking go out here and put a thumb out, and sometimes I get picked up, and then sometimes I don't. And sometimes I walk." Like he's like, "You're walking like 25, 30 miles a day." I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes I
My
am."
grandpa used to call that the number 11 bus.
Ugh. But
He'd
anyway,
say, Poppy, will you drive me? And he would say, when I was little, we would take the number 11 bus.
that's amazing. I love that.
Good
So that's a long
question.
answer for
Good
me, but I've
question.
had a lot of weird jobs, and I didn't really go to bars until probably I was in like I started Pixel. Like I don't think I actually went to bars more than like once every 6 months. I was broke until like I was 25 or 26. That might have
Wow.
literally been some of my first bar
I mean,
experiences. Yeah.
I delivered beer before I could drink, so I was in bars, and it was weird
Yeah.
back then because the drivers would go sit at the bar and they'd have a beer,
Uh-huh.
and they'd be like, bring in this, bring in some, like if I was on a draft route, like bring in, 3 half
Yeah.
barrels of this, 3 half barrels of that. So you'd be the helper and you'd bring everything in and they'd be having a drink. I mean, you
Drinking age was
couldn't,
18 when you were younger too, right? Like you aren't you right at that window where
no, we were 21 in Michigan. It
oh,
was
okay.
always
What was
21.
Wisconsin was
Yeah.
18.
But I remember, here's a funny story, and we won't, you can cut this out if you want. I remember in Detroit, I'm with a guy. His name was Benny Barr, and he had a bit of a stutter, so Benny, we call him Benny. But
Did he have
we de we delivered to a strip club, right? So there's this landing strip
The
that's
Bing.
right by Metro Airport, and then there's a big billboard and it shows two legs and an airplane coming, landing strip. And so I mean, I'm in high school, like I'm a young kid. What?
You didn't know what a landing strip was when you were a young
I knew
kid.
nothing. I mean, I'm in high school, and
Yeah.
we go into the strip club, and he's like, bring in the kegs in the back, and he goes and has a beer, and he's talking to the women, and they don't have tops on, like they're naked, and they
Yeah.
have big boobs and stuff, and I'm in the back, and I'm like, I'm like this little white kid, and I mean, these are, big women with big boobs, and I'm just like, oh, and they're like, hey, and they're talking to me. I can't say anything. I'm just trying to get my job done and get out of there. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Oh my God. That is absolutely spectacular. I don't.
I have more questions.
All right, let's move. I'm not cutting that out. The big
No, you
boob,
can't.
the big boob beer
Also,
driver
the
would
way
be
the story
Bubba
like that,
Benny.
that was good.
Oh, first of all, no. We have Bubba Benny driving the beer truck to the big boob bar and having beers.
The
So
bar, the bar, and the beers.
The,
What's a bar? What's a bar, and what's a beer?
a bar is something sheep say. It don't sound right coming out of you.
all
Go
right.
ahead now.
So, and mine's like, I don't know if mantra is the right word, right? But like I mentioned earlier, I had a leader who said to me, did you try your best? And if you tried your best, you didn't fail. And like, I've really taken to that, and I say that to my family, I say that to my kids, I say that to my husband. It's a long day. So I have a few others that I loved. My first boss at Saks Fifth Avenue said, you're not doing your job unless someone beneath you gets promoted. And
Mm.
that was what I loved. And that really inspired me to start taking mentees. So like Rich, like I've spoken to Hannah, like Jen Kajak is a mentor of mine. Vicky is a mentor of mine. Like, just especially I really believe in women helping women. Like I wouldn't be where I am in my career if it weren't for those. So that's one that I really value. And I actually, when I was at Vertex, I think you've both met Alyssa, who's fantastic, who worked with me at Vertex, and she was an ISR and so talented, so capable, really interested in getting into partnerships. And I went to leadership and we created the first partnerships role that an ISR could transition to. So, that's something where like you're not doing your job unless someone below you gets promoted. And
Love
another
it.
one I had was when you get promoted, it should never be a surprise because you're already doing that work. So my question for you, like those are my favorite that I live by that I share with the people that I mentor. What are your kind of like mantras, sayings that you live by and share?
God damn, that's a fucking doozy. Rich, that's such
See,
a deep.
see, this is what TJ does when he needs time to think. He's like, "Why don't you answer that first, Rich?" And
I don't. I have three right off the top of my head,
you do?
and I do.
Well,
The
Mallory, I have to
mantras.
say too, thanks for talking to my girl Hannah. I really appreciate that. By the way,
Okay.
as
I
an
mean,
aside,
I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for people doing that. It's just one of my favorite things to do. And it goes back to advocacy, right? Like teaching people to advocate and to ask.
So I have. So Rich, do you have mantras? Like, are there like telltale things that not dad joke level, but like on the business side that are like that you do? I'll go. I can
go
go if
ahead.
you want
I
to think
don't know.
about
I
it.
mean, I have weird, quirky stuff, but go ahead.
So one of them, and I'll probably butcher it because I don't use it as much as I used to. But one of them, I used to tell my staff that progress is measured by the small steps we take every day to better ourselves and those around us. Right? That's something that I have said for literally 25 years. I did a review for a young lady, Sarah Gallant. Actually, I think she's at Cole Haan now. And when she printed her review out and gave it to me, it had this quote on the bottom, and I was like, "That sounds amazing." I go, "Where'd you get that?" She goes, "When you interviewed me, you said that to me, and I never forgot it." And I
Oh,
never forgot. By the way, that's literally 25 years ago. So progress is measured by the small steps we take every day to better ourselves and more importantly, those around us. I've always said my goal is to be one less worry in someone's day. And if we can get up every day and do our jobs, let's just talk career wise, because that was a work thing, is that my staff's goal should be to be one less worry in someone's day. That could be a peer, that could be a superior, it could be a customer. But our job is for people that look to us to not worry, even if it's one thing a day. So that's a big one. I've always told my kids, this is a dad one, is that nerves are a sign of respect.
hmm.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I do not like this new era where we've got these like keyboard warriors on LinkedIn and these zipper heads on YouTube that say, well, you should never be, you're only nervous because you didn't do your job. And if you're going to be a good sales guy, you got to be this and you got to be that and you have to have this. I'm going to tell you right now, that whole mantra is fucking bullshit. If you're not nervous, then you're probably too comfortable. And I can tell you guys right now,
I
I
agree.
never went to a meeting for my entire 30-year career ever. I never went into a meeting where I wasn't nervous.
I
I
agree.
never did an interview where I wasn't nervous.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to you, I sweat my ass off doing these things because it's funny because Rob Garf made the comment about how nervous he was, and other people have come on, but we're just as nervous talking to you guys because it's a privilege not only to know you, but we don't have this level of deep dialogue as often as I think we need to. So that was another one, and then I had a fourth. It'll come to me probably after Rich, but those are big
Those are great.
things, for
I mean,
me,
I had
and
a
they're things I
few.
still say today, like no matter
Yeah.
what.
I mean, with the business, I mean, people got sick of hearing certain things from me, right? Because I felt like it was my job to continue to build the culture, right?
I
So
need high utilization, 80%, 80%,
that was not
80%.
me. That's more norm. I mean, I never did that. I never talked about utilization ever. I mean, I talked about the customer, right? So there's a few things. One that people probably got sick of me saying was, put yourself in the customer's shoes. I talked about that all the time with every one of our people, right? Because I said, listen, every impact, every conversation, every email, you're representing Lion CG, right? And you're creating an impression and it's either good or bad. And I want it to be good. And I kind of tried to impart, like, I want everyone to feel that they are better off after they've interacted with our firm. better off. Even if we lose a deal, I don't care. It wasn't about anything. It was like if we lost a deal, whatever, they should feel like we helped them and they're better off. So, and
Right.
then understand them. It's not about us. Like, let's not do shit about us, about lions. Let's do these systems and processes. That's fine. But what does the customer need? Put yourself in their shoes. Do you understand their jobs? Do you understand their upset? And it's so trite now, but when people say what keeps you up at night, but do you really understand what keeps someone up at night? Do you really understand that they could lose their job if this website goes down? Do you understand that? So when they're
100%.
calling you and they're frantic and they're yelling, don't take it personally. They could lose their fucking job. So we got to go and we have to be on. And learning, I mean, both of you know me well, and Mallory, I appreciate you talking about, therapy and, coaching. I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in I need a coach. Like I have blind spots. I need someone to lift me up when I need it, and I need someone to knock me around and kick my ass when I need to get going, right? Both sides of it. But I always talked about being a learning organization. Like, can we learn? Like I said, our only competitive advantage, and I'd say this over and over so people are sick of hearing it, but our only competitive advantage was our ability to learn and grow faster than our competition. So we would
Yeah.
do postmortems and we would, continually evolve our quoting and really look at, did we mess up? Did we quote it wrong? Do we need to increase the quoting or did we just mess up? Can we make it easier? But this learning and growing was super important to me. So I talked a lot about, maximizing your potential. Like, can we help our customers maximize their potential? But can you maximize your unique gifts and your unique skills and maximize that potential? And I carried some of that into dad stuff too. Like the girls and I, we would do these father daughter, and Gertrude would do it with them too. Mother daughter weekends. We'd go on these adventure weekends, and they had these mantras, right? Stand tall, talk true, and play hard. So that was a big thing for us. Like stand tall, right? Talk true, play hard, and I always, that was a big thing for me with the girls. Like we work hard. The Lions family, we work hard.
Yeah.
And there's no question, right? And there's times where you think about it, like my kids played sports and that was important in my upbringing. Sports were, kind of a lifesaver, right? But, um, they wanted to quit a team or this or that. I'm like, no, you have a commitment. Like, you have to be a good
People
teammate.
depend on you.
Yeah, people depend on you, loyalty. And then this is more of a funny one, like around because Morgan's married now, and but Hannah's not. But I would always tell the girls like about dating and boys, right? Like make sure that someone treats you well, you know, makes you happy, and helps you to maximize your potential. Hold you accountable to that. And I said, if you find a man that treats you well, makes you happy, and is going to help you maximize your potential, then you're good, right? And that was one I drilled in them, and they remembered that.
So I'm taking notes because I want to respond to two of those. Like I think, one that you talked about with lions, and I think is part of your secret sauce and your success. Putting yourself in the client's shoes, and you talked about like someone's job could be on the line. You know what I think that translates to me is business value selling. And like that is a miss, right? Because we have been pushed into this culture of like get the deal across the line, sign the license, you know, without, sometimes without being able to take the time to scope and understand the business problem when you are the consulting partner.
Right.
And
Short-sighted selling.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so and that's what it is. It's it's think larger than, I mean, of course, right? We have numbers to hit, we have families to feed. Like you got to get deals done, you have to hit your numbers, but like do right by the business, do right by the people that
Totally.
work for the business.
Well, and I
And
would always say under promise and over deliver. And TJ, you believe that too, right? I mean, like don't sell by selling shit and then change order someone to death like that. I mean, that's such bullshit. And I think it happens. It's happening again.
it's so true. Like yesterday, literally yesterday, great seller. I work with fantastic woman. You know, think we had sourced a deal, but we know it's a very long term play, and I need to track it, right? I have numbers that I have to give that have to go to the board, and I reached out. I said, hey, can you please create a stage 0 opportunity? We need to track it. And I said to her, can we put a placeholder in? And she said, honestly, like I don't feel comfortable putting a placeholder in because I want to over deliver. And I was like, you know what? That's great. And I agree with you. We'll track it. We can say this is a lead, but like I don't need to put any money behind it. And so like I agree. I want to I'd love to also just touch on what you said about kind of like some of the family stuff and when you were talking about Morgan and Hannah and like finding someone. I think that's really important and that's something that you know I, I'm I'm you both know me. I'm in kind of like an introspective point in my life, right? Like I'm a newer mom. I own a house. I'm figuring it out, and I have a great career, and I'm really proud of what I've done. But work has also, as you know, like work has been my outlet for so long, and I had this drive and this focus, and like I was going to be this career woman, and now I find myself um, trying to make a pivot, and I want to be more of a mom with a job than a career woman. And I think those are different things because it's so easy for me to go to sleep at night thinking about work and drafting emails and doing notes. And like you guys know, Rich knows like some of my best work comes at like 11 at night, like 11:30 at night. Like my Pam at Salesforce, she's like, I love when you like tell me you're watching Below Deck and having a glass of wine and working on a go-to-market strategy. That's your best work. But I don't, that's not who I want to be right now. I want to be thinking about what play dates are my kids having. And
How
like,
old are you now, Mel?
I just turned 35.
Okay. I literally made the pivot that even though people would think I didn't, but I made the pivot that you're talking about at 39 and 40.
Yeah.
And like that to like 39, 40, 41. I'm not suggesting you wait, but I love that you're actually going to talk about this right now because I was forced to make the pivot, but it changed my life and it changed who I was as a human. And the person you all know today, Rich included, is because I actually did make that pivot. I
Well,
am.
and you making that pivot, like Rich and TJ, like you two are some of my biggest mentors, guides, and inspirations. And you two, since the day I've met you, have led with I am a father.
Correct.
And that is not how I was raised.
And now a
Um,
husband.
Yeah, and a husband. And that's not how I was raised, but I'm fortunate and I feel blessed because I have a great relationship with my father and I can say to him like you did the best you could with the tools that you did
Right.
and your abilities and like he's making amazing relationships with my kids, etc. But so I have this conscious awareness of like where I want to be. And I think it's also, it helps to have relationships and mentors like you who have made those shifts so I can see it and I'm open to criticism and I want that feedback. And I've been blessed with leaders like you who say your health comes first, your family comes first. Like TJ, like you met my husband because I brought him to a work dinner. So, that being said, it's a big shift, it's a change, it's a mindset um and it's a work in progress, but I think it's really really important because I'm going to be there, like I want to be there, and like I am. It's funny, like I joke I got like peer pressured into being like the class parent with my best friend, and I was like, I'm really overwhelmed, like I don't think I can do it. And they're like, please, like, really want you to do it. I mean, I single-handedly operationalized an auction last year. Like I brought my laptop
Of
to the
course you
school,
did. Of course
to
you
the
did.
preschool, and I was like, guys, I have two monitors at home. Like, do you mind if I go home and just do this really quick? And they were like, thank you. So, I forgot what I was saying, but I
Well,
think
I,
that
I think, I love you talking about this. And the only comment I'll make, from my perspective, and I'm sure TJ will agree with it, you're never going to feel like you're there.
yeah.
Like
Well, and
us,
I think
us two OGs, like, I mean, I still have, imposter syndrome. I still think I'm going to be found out, not as much as I used to, right? Because, and this will sound harsh, but I don't care as much. Like there was a point
yeah,
in my life where I wanted everyone to like me, and I was deeply hurt if anyone didn't like me. And
yeah,
now I'm older, and if someone doesn't like me, that's okay. you know, they're doing their thing. I need to like me though, right? So
Yeah. I think, and I'll wrap it up because I know I'm just talking so much, but it brings me
no,
back
we
to
love you talking.
what this made me think of when you were talking about, your daughters, and is that my husband and I, we are constantly conscious of, we don't want to get so involved in just raising kids in our careers that in, 18 years our kids go to college and we have nothing in common. And we consistently and consciously check in with each other on, uh, no matter what's going on, our priority and our goal is our relationship. And if we don't have a relationship with each other, then we can't be the best
So
parent,
important.
best to each other. So,
I think that's the
like,
You can't
most
be a good
important.
you can't be a good you can't do the career side either though, because then you're basically peg legged yourself, and
exactly. And we
But
also,
I
I
think
think
that
that,
I think that like Gertrude and I have always held that like our relationship is the core to our family, and if we're not tending to that, it's not going to work, right? And
right.
kids try. I mean, you have young kids now. Kids try to divide you. I mean, having girls, the girls would try to get in between us when we would hug, and they wanted to be hugged first, and I'd be like, "Mom gets the first hug when I come in the door." Like, and so I was, training them like we're the core. We love you guys so much, but we love each other the most,
Yeah,
and we
like you
have to
wouldn't be
tend to
here
our
if we didn't love each
relationship.
other.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing there that is like, and it goes with any relationship, whether it be work or personal, like to Adam and I, like we define a successful marriage as bringing out the best in each other, and like, and Rich, I spoke with you and Gertrude about this a little bit of like, you know, bringing to attention if the other one needs help, and not letting someone, fall or go down a path, and finding the mindful way of saying like, I'm not trying to piss you off, I'm worried about you. And
Right.
I personally, like, if you know me, like I can burn out. Like I'll push through physical issues and put it into work and then burn out and not be able to mentally be there for my family. And like I have a husband who can sit me down and say to me like, you got to slow down, you're going to hurt all of us. So,
That's sweet.
I think that's amazing, and I think that if you ever have questions on those topics, uh, you should not worry about reaching out to us and just randomly calling us and shooting the shit with us. My kids were,
And you know you can do that.
I think it was 4 and 5, maybe I think Jack was probably 3, but like kindergarten and preschool level when I had to make the turn, and it took a while, and then obviously I went through a divorce and was a single dad for a while, and then I found literally my dream state with Shannon, and we're still learning, we're still figuring stuff out. I love that this is an open dialogue on this topic too, because it's something that doesn't get chatted about a lot openly, and if it does, it's in pockets. It's usually the ladies are talking about it,
yeah.
or the men are never talking about it. That's why Rich and I love doing this, because we kind of touch on sacred topics, and you know we've been there, done that. But I think does need to be a dialogue that has both both people involved,
And knowing that it's
gender
it's
descriptor is these
it's
days.
not always easy, right? I mean, I think you got to put in the work. And I think you're saying that, Mallory, like we can all give at the office, but we need to have some when we come home, or it's not fair to, our partner, but and our kids both, right? And I think we've all been through those periods, I have, and when you kind of have to rebalance and be like, I gotta, focus on what's most important.
Yeah.
So I
And
have one final question for you guys.
shoot, one. So you have one question. That's it.
And you're like, she's never going to shut up. No. All right. So I'm going to bring it back to the beginning where we were talking about books. So TJ, you might have answered this, but like, what is your one book that like you could say one book that you should read? What, and Rich, it cannot be authored by Rich or Gertrude Lyons. Congratulations to Gertrude on handing off her papers, by the way. So one book not authored by the Lyons family.
Oh,
I could tell you mine, but I'm definitely not as well read as you guys.
see, he's
What
looking at books.
What's yours? Yeah, because I have a bookcase
Mine
behind
is
me.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh, that's a
And I
Yeah.
good
think
one.
it ties directly to Rich saying, at the end of the day, I don't care too much if you don't like me because I have to like myself. And I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck before I changed into partnerships. And I think that it really helped me have the confidence to be such an external business person like I am.
So a book that I read that kind of blew my mind. Well, I read weird books. Like I'm into this architect called Christopher Alexander, and he wrote a book called The Timeless Way of Building, not but The Timeless Way of Building. And it's this concept that everything that could be done architecturally was figured out thousands of years ago. That's why the pyramids are still up. That's why we have churches that are thousands of years old. Everything else is like a modern failed experience. Even the architecture today, nothing is designed to last anymore.
I'm more of a listener probably than a reader. But when I talked about learning organization, that's Peter Senge. Just when we talk business books, Peter Senge wrote a book called The Fifth Discipline. And that's where I got the whole thing about a learning organization. And our only competitive advantage is our ability to learn and grow faster than other people. And I believe that. And I think that's a life thing too, like always learning and growing, always trying to improve. And then I'm a big Jim Collins fan, right? Like BHAGs, Good to Great, Built to Last, love his books. And I use BHAGs. Like when I started my business, I said I wanted to have a $50 million business by the time I was 50. And it kind of drove me, and I made a big map. I still have it actually, this big, it looks like a game board, like a life board. Like how was I going to get from 0 right now to 50 up here? And I put all these steps, but I didn't know the steps when I started, and I had a lot of support, and I missed it. I think we were 53 by the time I was 51, but I wasn't 50 by 50, but I wouldn't have gotten close without a big goal and a big, and the BHAG I love because it's like you're committing to something that you absolutely know you can't do, which just shows how much we block ourselves, right? We believe we can't do things. So you set this goal just to get yourself outside of your comfort zone and think differently. So I love that.
Well,
Thank you.
Mallory, we're out of questions, and Rich, you good? You have anything you want to ask?
I'm great. That was
Awesome.
fun.
Mallory, super appreciate you taking time this morning and getting us up and getting us on the horn to do this with you. I appreciate every question and every topic that you shared today. And Rich, I love you to death. I appreciate you. This is our
Love you too,
third
brother.
time recording this week. So
It's been a
I
good
think for
week.
anyone still, it was a good week. I know now I've got I got to do all
TJ
the
does all the
post
work, so.
Anyone still listening, we appreciate you tuning into another episode of Tea with Rich, this week with Mallory Rosen, partnership leader extraordinaire and a very dear friend of Rich and I. So until next time, we'll let everybody go. Thanks for listening. Have a great
Thanks, brother. Thanks, Mallory.
Thanks for
See you,
having
buddy.
me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.